But in saying that, there are several papers that now show that with Wi-Fi, the sperms are also damaged. Yes. So you have the sperms and eggs, and of course if you've got a damaged sperm and a damaged egg, it's horrific. Yes. The thing is, they know this, and the only reason they're putting Wi-Fi in schools is because if you're going to put it into, let's say in Denmark, 10,000 schools, I don't know, it's cheaper to use Wi-Fi than get workmen to drill holes to put the fibre optic cable or the phone cable through. You save maybe £1 million. And that's why they're doing it. And it's cheaper now to save £1 million and have genetically damaged children in 35 years' time.
I also heard already more than 10 years ago that don't give a cell phone to your children.
That's true, yep.
Because why is it especially dangerous?
Well, children are growing. The nervous system is growing. The bones are growing. The immune system is growing. The brain is growing. Everything in a child is growing. And if you put microwaves through growing parts of the body, you can affect the growth. You can deform the bones. You can alter the chemistry of the bone marrow that makes the immune system. You can affect the way the brain works. And these are growing. So if you change it, it's going to be changed for life, unless it can repair itself. So what you're doing is you're effectively changing the growth of the child. And a child isn't fully grown until they're 28. 28. The last thing to form is the clavicle, the shoulder blade. So really, if you want to be strict here, a child should not be exposed to microwaves until they are 28.
And I had some thoughts about what can we do about it, how can we improve it. And I had an interview with Professor Konstantin Meil in Germany, who was a physics professor and the leading researcher in scalar waves, because he made the experiment from Nikola Tesla, the Wardenclyffe Tower experiment, in a very tiny scale, and sells this so that everybody can follow that there are a special kind of longitudinal wave which we call also Tesla wave. And he said to us, if the cell phone industry would use only scalar waves to communicate with people in a cell phone, then you have a kind of peer-to-peer connection directly from the ringer to the receiver. And because it is a longitudinal wave, it is not going around anywhere, making no electrosmog, and making it more healthy. And nobody can eavesdrop on it, because this is not a transversal wave going everywhere, but only between those two persons. So the secret services can't listen to us any longer. And he says, in this scalar wave, you can transmit enough energy to the cell phone that you don't need a battery. Because scalar waves have a lot of over-unity effects, because they collect the neutrinos on their way. And this what Tesla showed already in the 1890s, when he had light bulbs 42 kilometer glowing without a cable between the generator. So for me it sounds perfect, and I know from some Germans who made their own cell phones on scalar waves between Berlin and St. Petersburg. It worked perfectly, and then the guy went from St. Petersburg to Australia, so it was through the earth, and it was perfect connection, no battery needed. So it is more cheap, it is more health, and they were so surprised some of the frequencies already were occupied. So somebody here on Earth is using that technology already.
I mean, if that works, it'll be brilliant.
Yeah.
If that works, it will be brilliant when it comes in. But as you said yesterday, it may be 20, 30 years before the whole system is up and running.
Yes.
And the mobile industry, they're still putting up their transmitters, yes. So they're not going to take them all down at the moment.
Yes.
But I mean, you're right, if it does work, it's brilliant. But if you say the Secret Service can't listen in, I can't see him getting a license to do it, because the beauty for the Secret Service is that they can watch, listen, and check every single person in the country. They can even watch you when you're in bed, yes. Through the wall, yes. And see how many people are in bed with you. Yeah. If you put your cell phone down and you're talking to the doctor or a lawyer or somebody, they can listen to what you're saying. They can, if they want to, they can listen to every single thing you say and watch everywhere you go 24 hours a day, and there's nothing you can do. They can even watch you go into the toilet. Yes. There's nothing you can do to stop them.
Yeah. And I heard that in every cell phone signal there is a kind of noise also.
Yep.
And that they can modulate the noise and put in information to influence your mind, or also get back information.
Oh, that's done. Yeah, they're using that in shops. And a shop was taken to court, and it was in the United States. With this system and using auditory hallucination or synthetic hallucination, a shop was targeting people coming into the shop. And the inventor was told that it would only be used to stop people shoplifting. That when they came in, if they wanted to stop them shoplifting, they would send a message saying, "We're watching you, don't steal that." But as soon as the inventor finished, the shops and maybe the governments, but somebody said, "Well, hang on, if we change the message, instead of saying don't steal that, buy it, we will make a profit." And a shop made, I think it was $600,000 using this in 9 months, and they were taken to court. But the government argued, from the transcript I had, the government argued that the system was harmless and no laws were being broken. It is not against the law to send somebody a message.
And it was not a subliminal message, it was
auditory, synthetic telepathy. They're arguing that it's like music. The message goes into the brain and you hear music. And the lawyers couldn't find a charge because it wasn't against the law. And the government scientists said, well, as far as we're concerned, all of this is safe. Because they use it, they have to say it's safe. And since then, it has spread to other big chain stores. And we don't know now how many chain stores are using this. But now there are big chain stores and fast food outlets that are targeting certain people to encourage them to spend more money. And that's amazing. And you think, well, we're back to where we started. I mean, what else can you ask them to do? Supposing, the owner of a shop gets one of these devices and takes it home. And however the message is sent, maybe from a tape or a bit electronic voice these days, supposing the owner sends the message through the wall to his next door neighbour, saying, I admire you, come and sleep with me, or move because you're not wanted here, or you can send it across the street. I mean, somebody's only got to buy one of these and start using it for their own devices, and then we're back to where we started, where you've got people hearing voices and they're getting confused.
When they modulate this information on the carrier wave, do you know whether they modulate the amplitude or the frequency?
They can do either. They can do either. If you modulate the amplitudes, you will get more energy. If you modulate the frequency, you will get more vibration. You can do either. If it depends on the energy, you'll probably end up doing both. But you would, with the noise, you can also put in anything from the 1 to the 600 pulse frequencies as well. So you could make somebody feel incredibly happy and indecisive or decisive, so they will buy something or do something. You can also put in the pulse frequencies.
And shortly before the Olympics in London now, you gave a fantastic interview to Lars Drygård from Denmark.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And you touched the Olympic Games and said it would be perfectly easy to support a sportsman.
It's so easy, I could do it.
Yeah.
It is because of the known frequencies. If you target somebody, and this comes from, I will say, an intelligence case. There was a researcher who was murdered. I will say murdered, but it wasn't proven. But everyone knows he was murdered. He discovered something, and for what he discovered, he was murdered. And somebody from this country contacted me to say, do you know what he was working on? Do you know the pulse frequencies? Do you know everything? And I said, well, yes, as it happens, I do, because I've been reading about that recently. And they said, would you make a statement, because he's dead, he can't appear in court, would you make a statement for the court? And I said, yeah. So I wrote an enormous statement with the evidence, sent it to the country. And it was to do with targeting ministers of the government with pulse frequencies. Because if you have a minister that is going to make a crucial decision, and you can target them, you can probably make them change their mind. It's very easy. And at this time, the Olympics were on, and somebody said, could Olympic athletes be targeted? And I said, easily. From any transmitter, straight through the wall to their bed when they're sleeping. And all you have to do is target them with a specific pulse frequency that will make them lethargic, disinterested. It's easily done, very easily done. Maybe feeling a little bit fluey. And all you have to do is take away the ability to slow them down by maybe a second. That's all you need. Slow them down by a second or two. Yeah. You can even do it whilst they're running. You can do it from a block of flats whilst they're running. You can just target the brain.